All right, hello, all you beautiful souls. I wanted to talk with you today about spiritual awakening. And this is a journey that is unique for everyone. Some people might say there are stages to a spiritual awakening, and I'm sure that you can get on Google and find a few lists, or obviously be directed on YouTube. However, I think it's a little bit more nuanced and complex than that. And or we could say the exact opposite and say it's more simple than that. And basically a spiritual awakening is when we wake up spiritually. So we're going about our what we might call 3D life. So in normal life, we are born into this world as it is, as we know it. We go to school as we're supposed to. We learn in school the things, how to do math, how to read, how to write, what history is, the sort of main points of history and what is true for our society. We learn something about our political system and government. Probably something about military and war, because that's a big part of our history. So, and we learn through society kind of right and wrong and what's okay to say and what's not okay to say. Okay, so all of this is sort of like the 3D normal. We're growing up. We're doing the life thing, and then something happens that sparks us into a more spiritual place, that turns us on energetically, spiritually, in our energy fields, in our bodies. Perhaps we attend some sort of ceremony or ritual. Maybe someone close to us passes or someone is born. It can also be a traumatic event that can stimulate a spiritual awakening. So I know I've kind of just covered like a lot, but that's the basis of it, right? Is that life is as you know it, as it's always been, as it probably was for your mom and your dad, and there's sort of like normal life, and then something happens that triggers an awakening of these extrasensory knowings, right? So beyond the veil, what we're thinking, feeling, hearing, seeing, knowing in the body, in the mind, in the being, we start to become aware that there is more beyond the normal. There's more beyond the story that we've been told and sold. So for some people, this happens on the level of, where have we been lied to in society? So in these school systems, as we've grown up, as we've been taught about the world, as we've been taught what's important to learn in school, as our parents have taught us, our religion maybe has taught us, we start to question those things. We start to see the holes in them. So for a lot of people who've been raised in a very religious community, as they grow, they start to kind of wonder, oh wait, but what about this or what about that? And this doesn't quite line up. So that's a type of spiritual awakening when they start to realize maybe this religion doesn't really quite fit for me, and I've experienced more out there, and I believe I feel connected to nature when I'm out there, and I feel that so this isn't quite fit. Maybe their spiritual awakening has more to do with feeling they've been lied to, like by the government, by media, by the stories that we've been told about our world, about history. And we start to kind of see the holes in that and see where that doesn't fit what we feel is true or know is true, right? And for others, the awakening can be more of a like, real energy in the body waking up, like kundalini. Some people go through a really big kundalini awakening, right? So this is an ancient energy in the body that starts at the base of the body and works its way up through the spine. This can be really quite overwhelming for a lot of people, can really rock their nervous systems, and be a very accelerated way to wake up their consciousness. And that's also why it happens sometimes, right? So any of these actually can be overwhelming for the nervous system, for the body to be able to process and know what's happening, right? For some people, they really wake up, their spiritual awakening is like they really wake up their third eye. They really wake up their ability to see what's going on, see energy. And they're like, well, I can see this, angel over your shoulder. I can see your grandma. I can see, the fairies in the woods. And so the stories they've been told no longer fit into their reality, and they can be quite overwhelmed with, okay, so now what do I do? How do I move forward? This can oftentimes, a spiritual awakening is going to open up, not oftentimes, always, it's going to open up the person's energy field, right? Because it's opening up their consciousness, it's opening up their body. So the systems, the energy systems within the body are waking up. The meridians, the channels, the chakras are all waking up, opening up. The auric field opening up, waking up. So there's all kinds of new sensations, knowings, seeings, awarenesses being built. And we don't really have the tools to be able to regulate with this, to be able to balance it, to be able to know how do I handle it? What do I do when I'm overwhelmed? What do I do if I feel like there's energy in my space that I don't like? And this happens a lot. As people are kind of waking up, they experience what some would call a psychic attack. And that is a not too nice energy, right? Coming into our space and kind of, it sounds exactly like what it is, right? Putting a really not nice energy, aggressive energy into our space, sometimes controlling, sometimes aggressive. We can go into psychic attack in another video, but so that without the tools, right? Simple, even grounding tools, can be really helpful during a spiritual awakening. So people often end up feeling overwhelmed, right? There's stuff going on, they feel stuff, they see stuff, and they're looking for answers. So we could say, if there's stages of spiritual awakening, the first stage might be, okay, there's weird stuff going on and I'm waking up and I'm kind of realizing that there's more here than the story I was told, more here than what I've previously been aware of, right? And now what's happening is I need a little guidance. I need some guidance because this is overwhelming. This is a lot, and it is. It's a lot for any one person, right? So that might be stage 2. Like you look for some support, some help, right? Some assistance, some guidance. What's happening to me? That's the first thing you might want to know. And somebody's like, oh, you're going through a spiritual awakening. Okay. What does that mean? And what does it mean for my life and moving forward? And can I get some tools? Can you help me develop meaning of this? Can I get some tools and exercises to be able to integrate this with the life that I've known so far? Is there something I'm supposed to do with this? Know about this? Is there a calling underneath? And that's oftentimes why people wake up, is that they have something more that they came here to do, something more to offer the world, right? So how do we find that? How do we get to that. That's what that mentor person hopefully is doing, right? And maybe you're seeking, right? There's spiritual seeking. So maybe you don't find one mentor, maybe you find many, or maybe it's a book that's really helpful, or a modality. Maybe oftentimes people during spiritual awakening, they'll try many things. For me, I went to psychic school. I went to massage school and studied different healing modalities and yoga trainings, and learned about somatic work and breath work, and you name it, different ways of connecting with the divine, of understanding what was going on. I started recovering memories from childhood and remembering how to channel energy and do light language activations and remember my own magic, which I would say is, okay, so that's that next piece, right? What did you really come here for? What is your own magic that you came to share with the world? And it doesn't have to come, it's not coming from an ego place. It's not coming from, oh, how cool are you, or what you, it's like, no, what did you come to share from your heart? Like, you're waking up and realizing, like, there's more here because there's more here that you have to share, right? We can also wake up from a traumatic experience, as I mentioned before. Sometimes people have like a car accident or, unfortunate other life circumstances that are painful and tragic, but they jar something, right? A lot of people have near-death experiences that can bring about a spiritual awakening. They get really close to the other side, and they touch it, and they get information and a reflection and a memory of how big our consciousness really is and how much is really here for us, right? So as what is a spiritual awakening? A spiritual awakening is taking off the layers that have been restricting your consciousness so that you can be free to share what your spirit, your soul, really came here to share. So it's waking up to peel off the layers of consciousness that have been restricting you from being your true self here, and really offering what you came here to offer, what your beautiful soul, the wisdom of your beautiful soul came here to offer. So what are the ways that we get through those layers, as they're naturally kind of coming up for whatever reason, because the soul's ready, through whatever way that they're happening, whether it's a traumatic experience, whether it's a kundalini awakening, whether it's the other thing that can happen is like group conscious awakening. If you were to go and look at all the spiritual teachers and healers out there right now, look at how many of them share having a spiritual awakening in 2012 or around about 2012. There's a reason for that, because the planet on a planetary level went through a huge spiritual awakening in 2012. So a lot of people got fired up by that group energy, right? That was like, gave everybody a boost of energy and consciousness to shake something up inside of them that was like, hey, wait a minute, no, there's more here, right? So whether it was through that group conscious energy, whether it was through a traumatic event, near-death experience, whether it was through kundalini experience, whether it was through doing a plant medicine, this happens to a lot of people too, plant medicine experience, or something else that triggered up this awakening from inside, whatever it was. It now wants you to peel back the layers so that you can bring your true self forward. Peeling back the layers may mean working on your intuitive abilities. How do you refine them? How do you hone them? How do you tap into them and utilize them for your benefit? What does it even mean to really utilize them for your benefit? It might mean healing past trauma or wounds. For a lot of people, as they're waking up, and this happened to me, it's like you remember a lot of things that you pushed down that were painful, that were traumatic from earlier in life, right? So sometimes that means you got to process through that, work through that, right? And then there's an integration process with the outside world. Now that I have this spiritual awakening and I'm aware and awake as a spiritual person, and I want to go share with the world, how does that work? How do I integrate who I am now with the world as it is, right? Still in its consciousness. So you have two kind of different levels of consciousness to integrate to be able to present to the world your spiritually awakened self, which is another part of the journey, the final part of the awakening journey. And I would say that part, well, all the parts are continuously going, right? It's like we have our initial awakening, which can be kind of jarring for a lot of people. And then there's sort of a plateau where there's layers, right? That keep happening. And sometimes it goes up a little bit more. We feel a little bit more high, a little bit more clear. And then there's another layer that's like a little bit more murky, some shadow work to do, right? Because we're constantly expanding our consciousness. We're constantly learning a little bit more about ourselves, about the world, the universe, the earth, right? It's not like a linear, that's why I don't give like, here's your steps to your spiritual awakening, right? Here's how it goes, you know? But I think we can kind of say there is sort of like you know, we're gaining a lot very quickly, and then it does kind of ease off. And not in the way of like, oh, you know, you become less activated or less conscious. No, it's just that like there's not so much all at once, and it becomes more easeful, more steady, and the integrated part, right, of the conscious, what's going on out here, what we've known to be true, and what we've discovered within, the integrating of the two is happening. So things are more easeful. And as you do get those nuggets of expansion, they're not such a big like, what is happening, as they might have been at the beginning of our spiritual awakening. So that's, you know, that's my bit, my spiel, my nuggets around spiritual awakening. And I think it's important to have some clarity of what it means so that we can find resources for it. We can name it, because I think oftentimes we're like, what is happening to me? What is going on? So if you can identify with any of these symptoms, you can identify or experiences, right? And identify that maybe you need a little support on that journey, because we can also kind of get stuck in our spiritual awakening. We can kind of like hit some stuff that's like really uncomfortable or really dark, and you know, it's like it can kind of halt our awakening if we don't have support around it. So, you know, reaching out to other people who've been through it or are going through it, so that you can kind of like lift each other up and support each other in your vibration to continually keep moving forward. And there might be times where it's slower and you kind of hit a stall, right? Activated, and then all of a sudden kind of like, what's going on? And you're wondering like, is this some dark energy? Did I hit something? Did something come in? Is there something coming up from below? Like what's going on, right? And just keeping in mind that can happen in our awakening process, because our mind, our consciousness is designed to kind of only hold so much awareness at one time so that we don't kind of like go crazy or implode, right? So if you're hitting a little stall in your spiritual awakening, like it's okay. It may be your consciousness kind of protecting itself and giving you some time to process. And it may also be a time to reach out for some help from for some guidance, for some support, for some mentoring, coaching, a course, a group. We're not really meant to do this journey alone, even though we end up doing it alone so often. So don't be afraid to reach out for support. And if it ends up not being the right support, reach out again, you know, so that you can, because there is always something, you can always move through. You can always move through whatever it is that feels like you're getting stuck on it in your journey, right? So you can keep awakening, and you can, again, come and do what your soul, your beautiful soul really came here to do. Okay. All right. I hope that is making sense and benefiting you all in some way. You can take it into your heart and recognize that wherever you are on your spiritual awakening path and journey, and again, it may not be clearly defined, but if you want to find a step-by-step process, you can. But know that wherever you are, however you're experiencing it, it's okay, it's right, and you're here for an important reason. And if you're feeling a little stuck, it's important to reach out for support so you can move through the sticky point in your awakening and bring your gifts to the world, okay? So if you are enjoying this video, always forget, subscribe, join in the channel, and let's keep it going, and hit the bell button so you can get the notification when these come out. All right, so much love and blessings to everyone. Thank you.